daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome, one and all, to the Daily Premier League podcast. It's Friday, the 10th of October. My name's Ken Davis. Him over there, is Nick Britton. Together, we bring you the very latest news, views, and analysis of the Premier League on a daily basis. That's why it's called the Daily Premier League podcast. How you doing, Nick?
Who would have thought of such a good name for it? Eh? Who would have known? Who would have known?
One sale, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all there in title, isn't it? Daily Premier League podcast with Ken Davis and Nick Britton. You're with us on Friday afternoon. It's Friday afternoon, everybody. Has everybody got that Friday feeling? I know I have. Have you got a Friday feeling, Nick?
Well, mercifully, it is halfway through the interminable boredom of an international break. So as of tomorrow, you get to Sunday, you get to the weekend, have a good weekend. Monday, you can go, oh, thank goodness for that. I can start looking forward to next weekend and next weekend's games.
Do you think that makes us officially obsessed with football? I think it probably...
We don't need to be officially obsessed with football. Mate, you and I know, because not only do we do the Daily Premier League, we also do the world's only World Cup podcast looking ahead to the World Cup next year. Road to World Cup 26 podcast, if you want to give it a listen. So, yeah, it's fair to say.
And we're just in Tunisia. And I think people will say one day in the future, it was a classic of its genre, wasn't it? The Tunisian Road to World Cup episode.
It was, for lots of different reasons. Some of them good, some of them perhaps not so good. But it was a great episode to record.
It was. And it involved camels and all kinds of things. Next week's Algeria. So, don't know what we're doing with that one. Anyway, the good thing about the international break, though, is that it gives us a bit more scope to talk about some of the subjects we don't often get to talk about because we've got a bit more latitude, we've got a bit more freedom. And this week, there's three things I want to talk about today. Firstly, came across a very interesting interview on the BBC with Anthony Taylor, who's a very well-respected and regarded official referee in the UK, talking about the kind of abuse, the kind of issues that he faces, attitudes really towards refereeing. And I thought that was an interesting subject to actually consider refereeing from a referee's point of view. We're very lucky on this podcast because Nick is often described as the bee in the black, and because he's an official referee. So Nick can give us his point of view on that. Just want to talk very briefly about the game last night, the very, very tight 3-0 victory that England enjoyed over Wales last night, but also talk about some of the comments that Tuchel had at the end of that game. And thirdly, in the third part of this, we get the opportunity to do something we don't do every week, which is who's our best Premier League team of all time. So we're looking at all the Premier League players that have ever appeared in the Premier League. Now, I know, we all know that, football did happen before the Premier League. One day we'll do one of, back in the 70s. But we're just going to deal with the Premier League because it's the Premier League podcast. We'll talk about the best team that we can come up with, whatever the formation of the Premier League. So without further ado, we're 3 minutes, 37 seconds into this. Want to make sure this is bang on 30 minutes today. Nick, Anthony Taylor. He suffered some quite appalling abuse, actually, when travelling with his family, when he actually refereed the 2023 Europa League final. Roma fans were giving him it large. He was highly criticised by Mourinho. He called him a disgrace twice in his post-match interview. He confronted him in the car park. He got a ban for that. And Anthony Taylor was really talking about it from attitudes towards referees and how attitudes toward referees are really deteriorating. There's a fear factor. There's, let's be honest, is it fair to actually have people, it wouldn't happen in any other walk of life, by the way. Why is it that referees is just fair game? It's about time we did something about that, surely.
One of the things that I really hate about football, and I mean really hate about it, is people's attitudes towards referees, supporters, coaches, players, from under sevens football upwards, which is the youngest age group you can get in grassroots football, right the way up to the Premier League and beyond. I think people's attitudes towards referees are a disgrace. to throw Jose Mourinho's words back at him. I think people need to cut them some slack. People need to understand they are human. And more importantly, in the chaos of football and the carnage of any game of football, which is 100 miles an hour, and players get away with making loads of mistakes, managers get away with making loads of mistakes, supporters get away with with making loads of mistakes because they don't know the rules, and yet a referee, one human being, is expected to be 100% flawless all of the time. And it's just wrong. Anybody who's been on a pitch during a game of football and understands the speed at which it's played, you don't get a sense of that if you're in the stands. If you're on the pitch or pitch side, the speed at which it's played, the speed at which you have to make your mind up, the speed at which you have to see 20 things at the same time that are going on all around you, it's very, very difficult. It's a very difficult job. And I really dislike the way players particularly and coaches and managers speak to referees and the way they generally treat them. There's a saying in football, no referee, no game. You can't have a competitive game of football without a referee. So why are they treated with such disrespect all of the time? And it has been going on forever. And the FA will tell you that they are putting in measures, and UEFA will tell you they're putting in measures, and FIFA will tell you they're putting in measures, but nothing ever works. Nothing ever works.
Just looking something up there as I was listening to you at the same time. An NFL game, as a comparison, has 7 referees. And when you think about an NFL game, it's stop and start. Every play lasts for approximately 5 seconds. And then it stops and everybody has a reset. I mean, essentially, there's a huge. Is there not actually?
Well, there are. I mean,
having more than one ref.
Well, there are more than one. I mean, there are. There is a team of 4 on the pitch and 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 in the VAR room now. That's at Premier League level. Obviously, going down the leagues where there's no VAR, there's 4 on the pitch. There's 1 referee, there's 2 assistants, and there's a 4th official. So there are more than one pair of eyes, but it's the man in the middle who constantly gets the grief for quite often getting it right and for making the right decision. And I am staggered, and I am constantly staggered when I listen to managers, or I listen to, worse still, are pundits on TV and radio who don't know the rules. So they are influencing supporters by saying, oh, this referee's got it wrong, because when actually the referee's got it right and they don't know the rules.
Yeah.
Supporters don't know the rules.
It's an interesting
referee, and a ball hits a player on the hand and it's blatantly not handball, and you just get dog's abuse. And you say to them, well, you tell me why you think it's handball. Well, because the ball hit the player's hand.
That ain't the rule.
Well, no. Tell me what are the things that referees are looking at that are in the rules of the game, the laws of the game, IFAB laws of the game, that referees must take into consideration when judging whether something's a handball or not. And they just look at you like you've walked off the moon.
Well, it's an interesting one. It's a very interesting comparison to see other sports. I mean, rugby referees are treated with respect by players, complete respect by players, and complete respect by officials and supporters. It's a completely different phenomenon, refereeing in rugby. It's a completely different phenomenon in cricket. It's a completely different phenomenon in American sports. There's absolutely no... American sports stars would never, ever scream at referees. I mean, they'd just be banned immediately. And just bear in mind, I mean, you're right. A referee, it's got 22 players constantly, instantaneously, at the same time, most of them trying to con him out of as much as they can in terms of what's happened. So, it's extraordinarily unfair. And sometimes it pays us to take a step back, because we all do. I mean, I was at a game last weekend, and there were times when I was saying, referee. But at the end of the day, it's an absolutely impossible job, really, what we're asking them to do.
Yeah.
And the fact we get anything close to the standards we get is a flipping miracle.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a crowd shouting, "Oi, ref," or anything like that, or "Ref, come on," or something like that, because that's more of a just one of those things you see, and obviously supporters and players and coaches are all beset by confirmation bias, whereby they see anything that goes on, they see it their way. So if there's a 50-50, it's their ball. If it's a throw-in, it's their ball. If if their player gets fouled, it's a foul. But if their player commits a foul, it's never a foul. The player dived. Do you see what I mean? It's confirmation bias all the time. And the job of the referee is to be objective. And therefore, when the referee gets the decision right and is objectively calls it correctly, supporters don't like it. But but if you spoke to them later when they've all calmed down, they'll probably go, "Yeah, the ref got it right." But that's no good in the heat of the moment. It's long. It is long overdue that the lawmakers of this game, the rule makers of this game, those who set the standards. So in this country, in England, where we are now, it will be the FA. Get hot on this issue, and not just by introducing what they've done this year. Well, only the captain can talk to the referee, because in reality, that doesn't happen.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen.
What they need to do is start banning players. You've said it a minute ago. What they need to do is start banning players for one game. Yeah, at the grassroots level, they've got sin bins, and that was a really, really good introduction to the sport. So you can send somebody off for 10 minutes at grassroots level, non-league level, and get them to calm down. And then if they do it again, they go back in a sin bin and they can't come back on. It's a very, very good addition. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should have sin bins in the professional game. They do it in other sports. Give the referees, and I'll tell you what, if you've got, in the heat of the Premier League game or Championship or whatever, you've suddenly got down to 9 players for 10 minutes, you'll think twice next time.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing. It's part of the culture of the game. And
but that's the problem. But that's the problem, mate. That's exactly the problem. People dismiss it as, "Oh, well, it's just football." It's always been like that. It's part of the culture of the game.
The point I'm making there is not that therefore we have to accept it. What I'm saying is actually we've got to stop it really early. We've really got to make respect to the referees part of the game that people grow up with, and then there's a chance. We've got to change it because, to be honest, we'll have no referees. I mean, who'd be a referee, to be honest, at that level? Because all you're getting is nobody's going to be has a problem with scrutiny. Nobody has a problem with people having a view on decisions. But just the constant negativity towards refereeing, you'd never get it in any other walk of life. And if we don't do something about it, there won't be any refs.
No, I agree. And Anthony Taylor is a very, very good referee, by the way.
He's a great ref. Yeah.
He's a very good referee. If you see him turn up for a game, you always know that you've got a good ref, but he will make mistakes. Of course he will. He's human.
Yeah, absolutely. I think VAR can help as well a bit more. Right, as we know, as our friend Anthony Taylor knows, in football, it pays to get your team selection right. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner. We chose Zencastr. Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life and share it with your audience, wherever they may be. It's got 4K video recording. It's got AI editing tools that are so easy to use. It's got top-tier distribution tools. And guess what? They're all in one place. So you don't have to worry about getting one platform to talk to another one. If you've got a story to tell it with Zencastr. Check the show notes for more details.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Right. Second part. Just want to talk about the scabby 3-0 victory over Wales last night that England enjoyed. And and we touched on it a little bit on the Road to the World Cup podcast. You want to check that out. It's a fascinating listen. Tuchel had some views, didn't he, on fans' commitment to England games at the end of that game. Interesting your take on that, Nick.
Yeah, so what happened was what generally happens at England games, which is after about 20 minutes to go, everybody goes home. And Thomas Tuchel was very unhappy that the England supporters, he wasn't happy they went home, but they were unhappy that they didn't give enough vocal support in the ground, particularly in the first half, where England were, quite frankly, excellent. And they blew Wales away in 20 minutes. The game was over in 20 minutes. Wales were wretched.
All right,
And
move on.
England, no. I'm going to stick with this thing, just until you admit it, or you denounce your Welsh statehood. They were terrible, but England played really well for that first 25, 30, 40 minutes. They were great in the first half. Second half, quite naturally, when you're making substitutions and the game is won and it's only a friendly, the whole game took a bit of a downward turn and it got slow. It got boring, quite frankly, and everybody started going home. So with about 20 minutes to go, then everybody's gone home, pretty much. Not everybody's gone home, but you know what I mean. There are vast swathes of the stadium that are empty. But Tuchel wasn't so unhappy about that. It was more the fact in the first half where it's 3-0 and his team is pushing for a fourth and putting for a fifth. And then in the second half, when Wales had I wouldn't even say they had a bit of a spell, but they just weren't looking so bad and weren't conceding goals, that it was the Welsh fans who could hear, not the England fans. And he just said the team needed help. He just said the crowd lacked energy. It was flat. And at times when a team needs help, then the supporters weren't there.
Yeah, look, be honest, it's a friendly against Wales. You're 3-0 up after 20 minutes. And I think he's expecting quite a lot here because, by 60 minutes, people are starting to look at the watches thinking we can get away early if we're lucky. I think Tuchel's maybe expecting a little bit too much. The fact of the matter is, in England, we're club followers. We're only interested in the national team in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, or final of a big competition. We're not even that bothered when we're playing in the group stages of the big competitions. I don't know if Germany's different, but here, I think the fact that we fill the stadiums is good enough, really. Unless it's 2-2 against a really good team, a Brazil or a Spain or a France, I'm afraid, England against Malta, England against Andorra, even England against Wales is just not going to hold the attention when the game's over after 65 minutes.
Also, I think it's becoming a bit of a culture in the English game generally. If you watch Premier League games or Championship games or what have you, people do start leaving early. It's become a thing now.
I hate that, though.
For whatever reason, it's become a thing. People start piling out of the ground with 10 minutes to go, even if it's a very tight game, even if it's 1-0, 1-0, 0-0, whatever, and your team is still within a chance of getting. So I can understand if you 4-0 down, fine, off you go. But yeah, it's just becoming a thing.
I don't like that thing, if it is. I do see it at Derby, but, to be honest with you, I don't blame him for walking out after 10 minutes at Derby. But it's a thing. Interesting. Well, but what I do like is Tuchel is opinionated. Tuchel will say it as he means it. He's criticised his players. He's criticised their determination and energy. Now he's having to go at the fans. You know what? I like that.
Well, he's got every right to, in my book. He's got every right to. Supporters are very entitled these days. They think they can do what they like, behave how they like, say what they like, without any kind of comeback. So I like the fact that the manager has stood up and said, the team needed your help, and where were you? You were all quiet. What's wrong with that? And if supporters get upset by that, then they need to just have a kind of look at themselves and go, well, am I in the right game here? Do I need to go and follow another sport? Do I need to do better? Or do I just accept the criticism and say, yeah, you know what, he's right. I was one of those who left earlier. I was one of those who sat there, and I'll take the criticism.
That's a really interesting point about entitlement of fans. Does that go full circle then? We started the episode talking about referees and the fact they get a terrible amount of abuse. A lot of that abuse is coming from fans, but not only fans. We know pundits have a go, we know managers have a go, but fans are a big part of it. Fans were a big part of what happened to Anthony Taylor, of course. Do you think that, again, is part of this entitlement that football fans seem to have that other fans just don't seem to have?
Yeah, and it's always been like that. It's always been like that in football. I think football supporters are a very different breed. They're a very cultural breed. They're a very tribal breed. Going to watch football game is different to going to watch any
cricket.
other sport.
Yeah.
Any other sport in lots of different types of ways. And the mindset of a football supporter, I think, is unique when it comes to sports viewership. And if you think back to, I don't know, the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, the I mean, thankfully we don't get any of the trouble that we sort of had in the 70s and the 80s in terms of violence and hooliganism. But there's still that it's loud, it's raucous, you're letting off steam. I wonder, and I may be wrong here, I may be making too big a leap, I don't know. Does it hark back to the very roots of football as being a working class game whereby you work your socks off all week and going to the football on a Saturday afternoon is just a release? It's just a release for you. Because I see people, and I don't know why, mate, because I'm not one of them, and you're certainly not one of them, but I see people every week at the football who get so angry.
Oh, yeah.
And so worked up. And I'm going, what? Why? What is it? What is it? What is it that's worth getting this angry about? And they're getting angry at the ref or the opposition or their own players or somebody else in the crowd. Just get angry. And they see football as the opportunity to release that anger. But sometimes they don't understand or appreciate that actually it's the wrong environment. And other people are affected by your behaviour, and you don't have the right. Go back to entitlement. You don't have the right just to behave how you want to behave because it suits you.
You wouldn't do it in any other entertainment venue. You wouldn't stand up in the middle of a Beyonce concert and scream at and say you got the words wrong. You just wouldn't do it. And I mean, the other thing is, I mean, maybe it's okay back in 1930 if you've been down a mine all week, breaking your back to do this, and this was a bit of a release for you. But let's be honest. I mean, the most work we do is doing Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations. Working for the council. I mean, it's not. It isn't really the same thing. So no, I don't buy that. I just think we have to have a proper look at ourselves, and we're not good enough as fans, to be honest. We need to get better. Right.
Yeah, can I say neither of us work for the council? Not there's anything wrong working for the council. It's just not what we do.
No, we do a lot of Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations. So, right.
Please, suit yourself. I don't do any Excel. I do a lot of presentations. That's for sure. But I try and avoid Excel whenever I can.
Oh, I can't avoid Excel. Right. So, Global Sports Podcast Network is partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements, because your body, I'm looking at you, Nick, is particularly unique. Because without knowing what deficiencies you have, if you take, Nick, off-the-shelf supplements, you may not be getting enough of the nutrients you need. You may be getting too many of the ones you don't need. Now, just think about that for a minute. Bionique provides 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs. What does your body need precisely right now, Nick?
Probably a cup of tea and stop listening to you.
That's probably what Bionique are able to provide at exactly the right levels to help optimize your health. So if you want to click on the show notes, use the code GSPN 2025, you'll get 40% discount off your first order. But you will still have to listen to me.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Okie. We've got it's precisely 6.5 minutes to finish this podcast. We're very serious about our professionalism here. 30 minutes is what we're signed up to. 30 minutes is what you're going to get. So we're going to pick the best team that's ever walked out in Premier League shirts in the history of the Premier League. Nick, you go first. First question, what formation are you playing?
I'm playing 4-3-3.
Okay, fire away. Go from the top to the front. And why?
Right. Now, this is quite a difficult choice because there have been lots of good goalkeepers in the Premier League. It came down in the end to there were two on my shortlist. Came down to Petr Cech, who I kind of had in and out of the team, but he's on the bench in the end. And I've gone for Peter Schmeichel. Manchester United goalkeeper, fantastic keeper, huge, big, brave, dominant. He kind of ushered in, I think, a new breed of goalkeeper. And he was absolutely key to United's dominance in the 1990s when they were winning all those titles. Yes, they did win lots of titles, would you believe? And he was part of the team that won the treble. Yeah, he was brilliant.
He was.
So Schmeichel's in goal. Do you want me to carry on, or do you want to do yours?
Well, I'll do mine. I agree with you, Schmeichel. I don't think you can look anywhere else, really. He kind of epitomised, as you say, a different breed of player. He dominant, absolutely dominant in the box. Great shot saver, great with crosses, just great penalty saver. Just all round great player. So was his lad. He was also a good keeper. So yeah, I'm all over Peter Schmeichel. I agree with you on that one.
Honourable mentions. I mean, Petr Cech I've mentioned. I think David De Gea, actually, another Man United goalkeeper, is
Yeah,
worth a mention as well.
decent. Onana from Man United.
No, not decent or worthy of a mention.
Right.
Don't ruin it.
Sorry. Carry on.
Right back. Back four.
Okay, I'm going to go my right back first. Gary Neville.
Yeah, I've got him down as well. Yeah, I've got him down. I think defence and goal is quite easy to do, to be honest with you.
406 games, super reliable, real athlete. Also, what I like about Neville is he's got a real attitude. He wasn't going to be bullied. He wasn't going to be pushed around. He's a great sportsman, and doesn't like white working class blokes. Just coming back to our earlier point, but a great right back. So I've got Gary Neville at right back.
Yeah, me too. I had honourable mention here to Carl Walker when Man City were in their pomp.
Yeah,
3 or 4 years ago. I thought he was absolutely brilliant and unbeatable when he had his full pace on. He was fantastic. But yeah, Gary Neville, absolutely. Then moving into centre half, then my two centre halves are Rio Ferdinand and John Terry.
Okay, interesting. I've gone John Terry as well. Fantastic. 492 games of Chelsea. Yes, I've got Terry. I haven't gone... who's your other one?
Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah. Okay. I thought them two players are quite similar. I've gone for Virgil van Dijk. I think he's still absolutely outstanding defender, has been consistently for a long time. So I've gone Virgil van Dijk and John Terry in the middle.
Do you think Van Dijk would cope with the strikers of the 90s?
The Shearers.
Which are very different to the strikers of today.
Yeah, I think he's an athlete. I think he's strong. I think he's got a great footballing brain. I think he's a thinker. He's an intelligent guy, and he's just a supreme athlete. So yeah, I think so. I think he would have coped in any era.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think that's there are quite a few centre halves that you could probably call on. It depends kind of whether you want a ball player. I mean, I think back to Steve Bruce. Yep, absolutely. Steve Bruce was an absolute warrior in that Manchester United team.
You couldn't see him now, though, could you?
Probably not. Well, I don't know. Dan Burn plays for Newcastle. Similar kind of player.
Yeah.
You've got. No, to be fair, that's totally untrue. You've got Vincent Kompany. I thought he was a great player.
Yeah.
Fantastic centre half. Who else did I have? Who else am I on my list here? That might have been it as far as centre halves are concerned.
Alistair?
Tony Adams I had on.
Tony Adams, yeah.
That partnership of Adams and Keown for Arsenal.
Yeah.
I could have had either of those in the team as well.
1-0 to the Arsenal, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talking of which, who have you got left back?
Well, I was just saying, I still think Martin Keown's the scariest footballer I've ever seen in my life.
It's that face,
I would have hated to play up against Martin Keown.
It's the kind of face that turns the milk off.
Yeah. Left back, Ashley Cole.
Absolutely.
Arsenal, Chelsea, the best. I think he's England's best ever left back. I do. I think he's been England's best ever left back. I think he's a fantastic player, both at the top end of the pitch and at the bottom end of the pitch. I just think he's brilliant.
Yeah. I do remember him playing at Chelsea against Derby in a League Cup game about 10 years ago. And he got was it Mason Bennett? Absolutely roasted him all game.
Yeah, but that's Derby, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. And I actually think what a player. And I remember him coming with Chelsea and he got absolutely slaughtered all game. And I thought, maybe he ain't the player I thought he was. But
he probably just turned up. He probably just thought, I've turned up. I'm only going to operate at 50% today.
Yeah, well, he certainly did. But I've got Ashley Cole there as my left back. So we pretty much agree with that. Now, you've got a 4-3-3. I've got a 4-2-3-1. So let's have your three midfielders.
Yeah, this is where it gets very, very, very difficult because I could do what Egypt did and play 6 across the midfield.
Yeah, that was an interesting formation. Wasn't it 3-6-1?
to get that gag, you've got to listen to the Road to World Cup podcast. So I've gone with, so DM, because I'll tell you what I've done. I'll tell you how I've picked this team here. I picked this team on a kind of both statistically, but also players that I like to see play, but also a kind of team that would work. So, do you see what I mean? So players, so in a kind of formation that would work.
Let's get to it, Nick, because you're dancing on the head of a pin. Let's have the players.
All right, calm yourself down. So I've got a defensive midfielder in that three.
Yeah.
And that's Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. I'm
powerful, great leader on the pitch, great player.
307 appearances.
Yep, could get forward, could score goals. And if you think back to that Arsenal's invincible side, he was the absolute linchpin, I think, of that side.
No one messed with Patrick Vieira.
No.
Then
so he's my first one. Then I've got a centre midfielder. And now this is where I just couldn't kind of split this. So I've got
There's
Paul
an embarrassment of riches here, isn't
there? There is, yeah. I've got Paul Scholes. I had Frank Lampard. And I had Steven Gerrard in there. So I think in the end I've gone for Scholes because he was the absolute for years and years and years. And people talk about people like Roy Keane and all that. No, Paul Scholes was the heartbeat of Manchester United's midfield for years. And I mean, he was the best thing about that Man United team. And he
was the glue, wasn't he? He was the glue that made it fit it all together. Yeah,
and he went about his business with the least of all fuss. But his passing ability was unparalleled. He scored some great goals, including some.
He wasn't a great tackler, though, was he?
No, he wasn't a great tackler. No, that's why I've got Vieira behind him. So that's method.
I see where you're coming at.
Well, I know what you've done. You've just picked random players in random positions, but I've actually thought about this.
Players.
But you know what? If Scholes is just feeling a little bit like he's got a bit of a bad timing that day, then I'm just going to put Lampard in there. He's my second choice. Love Big Frank.
Okay. So there, two of your three in midfield. Who's the third?
Well, I'm going to add some flair. And I'm going to add a player who's lit up the Premier League in recent years, and that's Kevin De Bruyne.
Nice choice. That's an interesting choice.
Sensational player. Love to watch him. Undoubtedly the Premier League's most creative player in the last 10, 15 years. Just a pleasure every time. Every time you watched him get off the ball. He's one of those players who just gets you off your seat. I love watching football where I've got players who get you off your seat, who excite you when they get the ball. That's why we talk a lot about Eze and players like that. I just think he's brilliant because they excite you.
No, and he can do things that no one else can do. But so that's an interesting three. I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. So before we get into the kind of the attacking half of I better tell you, I've gone, and so obviously if you're going to go for a 4-2-3-1, the two that you have as defensive midfielders have got to be the type of midfielders that you'd be scared to death to go near. Now, and there's some choices I mean, some amazing defensive midfielders we've had. I mean, it was Makelele back in the day with Chelsea was great. But I've gone, and I don't know if this would work because I don't think they're the best of pals, Keane and Vieira as my two defensive midfielders. Because I just think with them two sitting in front of that defence, honestly, they're going to kill people. And
they'll kill each other probably. Or just spend time.
If we could just get them working together, which I know is difficult, they probably wouldn't get out the tunnel.
Well, they'd be throwing pizza at each other in the tunnel, wouldn't they?
It would be dreadful. But if we could imagine two defensive midfielders of Keane and Vieira. So I've gone Keane and Vieira as my defensive midfielders. Now let's look up the pitch. So you've now got three. I've still got four players to go. You've got three. Who's your three forwards?
Well, think of this, right? Think of this. Wayne Rooney, Sergio Aguero, Harry Kane. Yeah, these players aren't even getting on my list. They're not even in there.
Pleased to hear it.
And they are brilliant players. I can't believe you just guffawed when I mentioned the word Wayne Rooney.
He's
one of the Premier League's best ever players. He's a brilliant player. 208 goals, 103 assists. No. Yeah, the only player to get 200 plus goals and 100 plus assists. And you're going, as if he wouldn't be good enough to play for Wrexham.
I saw him at Wrexham, was his first game ever. And he was a good player then. But
I thought you were going to say sort of around the less reputable places of Wrexham.
No. So no, we're looking at the cream here. We're looking at the elite.
So what I'm saying is there's hot competition, but I've got a front three that's going to blow your mind. It's not only going to blow your mind; it's going to beat your team hands down because it's going to thrash your defence.
Might be the same as mine. Go on.
Right wing, Cristiano Ronaldo on the right.
Yeah.
Thierry Henry on the left.
Yeah.
Alan Shearer in the middle. What a front three! What a front three! Thierry Henry, arguably Premier League's greatest ever player. Alan Shearer, undoubtedly the Premier League's greatest ever goal scorer. And Cristiano Ronaldo, quite possibly the greatest footballer this world has ever seen. What a front three. And whatever you're about to say is not as good as that. So,
let our listeners decide, because guess what? I've gone Ronaldo on the left, Henry in the middle, Ronaldo on the right, Henry in the middle, Giggs on the left, Shearer leading the line. So I've got Keane and Vieira as the sitting two. Then I've got Ronaldo, Henry, Giggs, and Shearer banging him in. I reckon that's better.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You've got four of them.
But the point is, I'm going to outnumber you in midfield, and therefore my front three are going to push right on.
Yeah, but your midfield have got to cope with Keane and Vieira. They ain't doing that. Keane and Vieira would chew them up and spit them out.
No, they wouldn't.
Imagine Vieira imagine Keane. Imagine Keane against Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, it's just not fair, is it?
In our teams, it would be Vieira versus Vieira. So that would be interesting.
Imagine De Bruyne against King. King would literally break his legs in 10 minutes.
I don't care what your team put out. A front three of Ronaldo on one side, Henry on the other, and Shearer is unbeatable.
Well, fair enough. Just some honourable.
Giggs is a good sort of.
Giggs isn't a bad player. He's not a bad player,
but he's nowhere near the level of the others. He's nowhere near it.
This is what I like about this causes debate. Just some honourable mentions, as Nick mentioned. I had no place for Gerrard, Lampard, Kane, Cantona, Bergkamp doesn't get on there.
I forgot about
Bergkamp.
Oh no! Yeah, I forgot about Bergkamp. No, he's still not getting in. Yeah, he's still not getting in. He ain't getting in ahead of Henry or Ronaldo, and he's certainly not getting in ahead of Shearer. Nobody's getting in ahead of Shearer.
No one's getting in ahead of Shearer. Shearer's leading the line for me as well.
What about Haaland? What about Haaland?
Well, I think I know Haaland is an alien. I think it is too early. I think when we do this episode in 5 years' time, we might say, "Oh, just remember Haaland? What a player!" And you'll say, "Well, he's no Shearer, is he?" Yeah, he is a Shearer.
What about Paolo? What about Paolo Wanchop?
Paolo Wanchop, Stefano Eranio, Francisco Baiano.
Well, I tell you what, Baiano was a good player. He was a good player in that team, wasn't he? He was a good player.
Right, that'll do. Thanks everyone for taking part in that. That was a lot of fun. Always is a lot of fun. I told you that this would be exactly 30 minutes of Pulitzer Prize winning punditry. It wasn't. It's 38.15 right now. So we better call it a day there. But we could talk about this and debate this forever. So thank you, Nick, for joining me on the Daily Premier League podcast. As always, in the international breaks, it will be 3 episodes next week, just as there's been 3 episodes this week. But of course, next week we can look forward to actually some games at the end of this week, or the end of next week, which will be a lot of fun. So, Nick, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to send us some information or some notes or some remarks, you can always reach us at dailypremierleaguepodcast@gmail.com. Promise you we'll look at those and we'll probably talk about them on the podcast. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Ken. See you soon.
See you next time, everybody.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.